Hello, this is Mark Werawath. I wanted to share a quick video with you on why EV owners and electric vehicles in general still need mechanics. And I'm going to focus on the independent mechanic as opposed to the dealer or the dealer mechanic, or in many cases, the Tesla mechanic, because frankly, I think you'll find that independent mechanics have a lot more um, control, if you will, fewer regulations that govern their behaviors and what parts they can use. And also they have more flexibility in terms of how to solve your problem and even go beyond what might be considered textbook or owner's manual type solutions into the creative solutions that both save you money and perhaps outperform the traditional solutions. It's a fallacy that EVs require no maintenance. I mean, it's all over the internet. It's maintenance free, maintenance free. The only thing you can say for certain is that an EV does not need engine oil replacement, because there's never any engine oil in any electric vehicle because there's no engine. So that saves you twice or three or maybe four times a year, spending upwards of $100. And that's what most people consider to be maintenance. I take a more comprehensive view, as you'll see in a few moments. So you're going to see that I basically believe and know that EVs do require a decent amount of maintenance, less than an ICE car or a gasoline car, but still enough to keep mechanics busy and a slight drain on your pocketbook. But it's a drain that will keep your car on the road safe and sound for hopefully many years to come, right? It's also a fallacy that EVs will put mechanics out of business. I think that's only true for mechanics who don't adapt to the new technology. It's a fallacy that EVs require specialized knowledge. Yes, some of the issues do require special equipment, specialized knowledge, specialized training. Anything regarding the high voltage should only be done by the dealer or somebody who's trained and certified in electric vehicle maintenance. High voltage is dangerous and it could hurt the car, it could hurt the mechanic or anyone nearby. So I am not advocating that independent mechanics jump in where they're not qualified or where they're not understanding the technology. It's also a fallacy that EVs are mere appliances that are just simply designed to fail, and that in 100,000 miles or less, your car will be a pile of junk, or it'll be sitting in a landfill somewhere. That's not true. First of all, batteries can be replaced, motors can be replaced, batteries can even be reworked, right, and refurbished. So you don't have to replace the whole battery. You replace the modules that are bad. We're seeing this on the West Coast. We're seeing this on the East Coast. Already Europe has got specialized mechanics that are working just on EV batteries and refurbishing them and keeping them on the road. Can they go more than 100,000 miles? There are documented cases, many of them, where Teslas in particular have gone 200, and in some cases I've read 300,000 miles with the original battery intact. I know that's rare. Oftentimes a module will go bad within 150, maybe 180,000 miles, but that should not shut down your vehicle. It may reduce your range, but it should not shut down your vehicle. I'm a big fan of the independent mechanic. These folks are more focused on the customer and the car in front of them, in my opinion, instead of protecting the brand or the manufacturer. Now, I know that there's very good people and very, very good mechanics working at dealerships across the country. I respect them, but I also know, in my opinion, that they charge more typically than the independent mechanic, and they're much more constrained as to what they can and cannot do. They're following the rules of their local dealer or the rules of the manufacturer. These independent folks, may not be able to do factory warranty work. And for factory warranty work, take it to the dealer, get your money's worth, get them to do their job. Even, God forbid, if you have to go to more than one dealer to get it done. I know I have, right, more than once have to take a car into one dealer only to take it into another dealer to make sure they got it done right, or to finish up the stuff that they never really did the first time. But these independent folks can also get reimbursed by third-party warranty companies. It's up to you if you think that's a good idea, a good way to spend money with third-party warranties. I generally don't buy them myself because I think they're kind of a waste of money. But in one case, when I did, it totally paid off. So it's basically, you don't need it at all, in which case it's money wasted, or you need it a lot, in which case you're very glad you got that third-party warranty. I can't tell you which which situation you're going to have, but use your judgment, right? Uh, Independent mechanics can leverage reuse, rebuilt, or used or salvaged parts when the factory may not approve. This can save you a ton of money, especially for electrical parts that, let's say an inverter that's sitting in a junkyard. The car was junked because of an accident, not because of any, failure of the inverter. An inverter can be thousands of dollars, but you get one in a junkyard, it could be hundreds of dollars, and you can literally maybe get tens of thousands of miles of use out of it. Instead of simply swapping parts, a gifted independent mechanic can repair, fabricate parts whenever it's needed, and also in some cases modify the vehicle itself, which of course the dealer will never do any of those things, right? Here's the maintenance that an EV needs. So this is the crux of the deal here, right? Coolant. No, it's not an engine coolant, but it is cooling the battery, it's cooling the motors, it's cooling the drivetrain, it's cooling the inverter. All of these dissipate heat. Most systems, let's say the Nissan Leaf excluded, but most EV systems require at least one coolant loop. And yes, I've seen 2 and even 3. My Chevy Bolt has 3 coolant loops, 3 independent coolant loops. So when you say replace the coolant, instead of paying whatever the normal price is, let's say $150, if you're doing all 3 coolant loops, you're spending closer to $450. Yes, so in that case, it's more expensive. Probably every 5 years is all you need, maybe 6, but recognize that it goes bad even in an electric vehicle. There is a gearbox in an EV. There is no transmission, so you're not replacing the transmission fluid, but the gearbox fluid does need to be changed, in my mind, every 30 to 40,000 miles. I think the dealer might tell you 50 or 60, or they might tell you nothing at all, and they might hope that it breaks so that you'll buy a new car, right? Brake fluid every 2 years, 24 months is probably the right interval. Could you go 30 or 35? Possibly, but you're risking rusting out your system. So for a relatively small amount of money, a brake fluid change can make a big difference. Again, every 2 years or so. Brake pads and rotors. Yes, it happens, but not very frequently. The typical gas car might take 35, 40,000 miles to get both pads and rotors replaced all around, front and back. The EV, the electric vehicle, might go double that, might go triple that. You might be able to get 100,000 miles or more on your pads and rotors, thanks to regenerative braking. So it depends on how you drive. It depends on how rusty your area is and how much corrosion is affecting your brake operation. Tires, tire repair, tire rotation, TPMS sensors, all of that stuff might require a little bit more than a gas car, simply because the car is heavier and the tires will likely wear out a little bit faster. Again, it's up to you in terms of what types of tires you use, but often the tires coming from the factory on an EV are designed not for traction per se, but they're designed for efficiency, trying to get just a little bit more miles per kilowatt hour out of your vehicle. So in my case, I live in Chicago, snow and ice. The factory tires were no good. They did not help me in the snow and ice. So I quickly upgraded to all seasons. And now these special all weather tires that are coming out are pretty amazing. So yes, that's pricey, but it's well worth it. Accessories battery. Believe it or not, an electric vehicle, even though it has a 400-volt battery sitting in the base of the car, right? High voltage battery, they still have low voltage batteries, 12 volts to run the accessories. The problem with those is often they use cheap batteries, and often they get quite a beating. And I would expect you to have to replace them within 5 years. In some cases, I've read with the Kias and the Hyundais, every 2 to 2.5 years, they were being replaced. So when I say upgrade, they now have lithium iron phosphate versions of these batteries that will last 4 times longer and probably cost twice as much. So it's up to you if you're willing to pay the money. If you're going to keep your car for 10 years, you might want to consider an LFP battery that are out there. Wipers, cabin air filters, washer fluid, basic stuff that most drivers can maybe do themselves. Suspension and alignment, just as important. In fact, I found my EVs for some reason going through suspension a little bit faster, right? lamps, fuses, bulbs, switches, etc. These are all common to both EVs and ICE cars. So you could argue that, okay, all of this together is not as much as an ICE car or a gasoline car, and you'd be right. This is certainly cheaper to maintain and operate than a gasoline car. What's unique to EVs, the accessories batteries get a lot of abuse, the tires get a lot of abuse, and the brakes may actually rust before they wear, meaning that they might require lubrication instead of simply replacing the the pads and the rotors. So that is it from my perspective. Keep your independent mechanic happy, and I'm sure he or she will keep you happy. Make sure they know something about EVs. They're not afraid of working on EVs. You can transition them as they can support you. So with that, I will stop the recording. Thank you.